everyone, and welcome to the episode you've all been waiting for. We have been reviewing WandaVision through this web series, of course, on Spilled Popcorn, as we call it, and we just watched the final episode of WandaVision on Disney Plus. With my co-host, as always, here to dissect everything, Mr. Kimalema Ding Dong.
What is going on? I am so excited.
It's so good to have you here. We have been dissecting our feelings for quite some time now, and I am your other co-host, Mr. Kirktastic, Mr. Fox. I'm here to explain everything I can to you tonight, as well as Cam. We're going to dissect it. We're going to dive deep about what went on in the series finale of WandaVision. Cam, how are you feeling after watching that episode?
Oh, I mean, that's a complicated question, Kirk. I have many feelings. I have some good feelings. I have some bad feelings. But what I will say, as I usually sort of use this time to sort of give my overall thoughts on the show, what a great show. I'm sad that it's over, and I really enjoyed it. And I have some things that we'll discuss that leaves me wanting a little bit, and I have some things that made me super, super happy. But man, I'm just mostly sad that this is over, and I will rewatch it again at my earliest convenience.
Yes, all those things. And I wonder how much it's going to tie into Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Are they going to be right next to Westview or something? I don't know. Are we going to see a character that goes missing that we know that we saw in WandaVision? They got to do something. They probably will. It's going to be nuts.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, after this finale, I don't know that I trust them to do any of the things that I thought they would do, but I also just keep hearing this thing ring back in my head, and names are escaping me right now because it's late, but the showrunner for Falcon and the Winter Soldier basically described it as just classic in-your-face action show. So I feel like the flavor is going to be totally different. I feel like we're going to get less Easter eggs, less opportunity for speculation, which pains me a little bit, but I'm also so excited to see just classic superhero butt-kicking kind of show. So it'll be different, but it'll be good.
Perfect. We're going to be starting to review that next week, everyone.
Yes.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier drops next Friday, which I keep getting that date mixed up. Is it the 18th? Is it the 19th?
It's the 19th. You're getting it mixed up because 20? Zack Snyder Justice League comes out on the 18th, which is a Thursday. So
the rivalry.
That's right. We'll sleep and we're dead. There's no rest in this business. That's for sure.
With that said, it's time for the Unwrapping.
There's our old friend back again for one last ride. Though I guess there's still spilled popcorn after this, so not really one last ride.
Yes, I'm going to name him Cletus. I think that's appropriate.
I like that.
The oil for my fingers is all up on this at this point.
Soon he's going to lose his crackliness, and then it'll be over. It's just, it's a tough business.
It'll just be wet with my body.
Gosh.
Anyways, WandaVision?
Let's please.
Let's do it. There's no time wasted at this episode. Unlike this episode for us, we wasted a lot of time. We start right at the battle. In the last episode, we saw Agnes / of course, Agatha. She's got her Ivanhoe's ropes tied around Wiccan and Speed, a.k.a. Billy and Tommy's necks. And we're waiting for the big brawl, and they waste no time. It happens right away. The kids get excused pretty quickly from this fight scene, but we see them back a little bit later when they help defend mom and dad and the people of Westview from the military, aka really it's SWORD. It really comes down to SWORD and a couple of FBI agents. We discover that we remember that Agatha is a power sucker. She clearly stated this in her Salem flashback, and quite easily it happened so long ago between the beginning of the previous episode to now that of course Marvel being brilliant, they knew people wouldn't put it together right away, and that's how she's going to collectively suck away Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch's power from this. So she's pretty pumped to become the Scarlet Witch, Agatha, because she wants control, she doesn't want anyone else to have it, and she wants to wreak havoc on other people. Following this, We see some tricks that Wanda does to fight Agatha in order to not just give her all of her power as she's realizing that she's just absorbing it. We see anomaly vision and white vision come into play. They start just swinging at each other. They're interspliced throughout this entire episode of battling each other. And then one pivotal scene where they chat in one of the most incredible philosophical debates I've heard in recent memory, and I really enjoyed it. So, Cam, did you enjoy that scene?
Yeah, the ship of Theseus, right?
Cool.
You know, it's I loved it because it was perfect in so many ways, because you've got anomaly vision, or whatever vision you want to call him, hex vision, and he's sort of acting out the human side, and he's taking on the computer side, and what is really a great, you know, microcosm for the struggle that he's going through. He's trying to be the human vision, and he's taking down the computer vision the only way he knows how, which is through logical, you know, what would you call that? Like paradoxes,
Yes.
Yeah, paradoxical conversations in which he's like, hey, you know, White Vision's like, you must be the real Vision because you think yourself to be. And he's like, well, I thought myself to be until I met you. And, you know, goes through the whole ship of Theseus saying, you know, there's the ship of Theseus, and every few years as the wood rots, they replace the wood. When all the wood rot is gone, is it still the ship of Theseus? And White Vision's like, they are both the ship of Theseus and they are both not the ship of Theseus. And it causes him to, you know, his mission directive is to destroy the Vision, and now he has no idea who the Vision is, and he thinks, I'm the Vision, he's the Vision, I can't destroy both of us. So
yes,
it's awesome.
And then Hex Vision unlocks White Vision's eyes, and they just boop, they pop into human eyes, and it's fantastic.
Yes, it's amazing.
And I love it. I love it. We also see Monica is trapped in Agatha's house. She discovers that Pietro is 100% a Pietro, a fake Pietro, and his name is actually Ralph Boner.
Ralph Boner?
Boner.
Bohner, possibly the biggest letdown of the episode, in my opinion, and that he's been a pawn all along. However, I'm not buying it, and we'll discuss that in just a little bit. I think there's more to it. Monica escapes, of course, and saves the twins from Hayward, which director Hayward from Sword is straight up about to murder Billy and Tommy, two 10-year-old boys, in the streets of Westview. Sadistic. I love it. When we see Photon's powers, aka Monica, we see her powers get to shield them with her energy. We also see Wiccan get to use some super cool magic as well in order to control and stop those bullets at perfect timing. We have Wanda and Agatha take on their final battle to the skies, where Wanda ultimately tricks Agatha with some runes, which of course Agatha taught her in the previous episode.
In a given space, only the witch who cast them can use her magic. Thanks for the lesson.
Wanda traps Agatha in the Hex permanently, which is great because we know she's going to be accessed later on. I don't know. Is it going to be one MCU movie? Is it going to be two? Is it going to be three? I don't know. What do you think, Cam? Do you think it's just a one-off? We'll see her one more time, or is it going to be a through line?
I think we will see her one more time. I think she'll probably, you know, they'll wait long enough for us to forget about her, you know, probably whatever the end game equivalent is in these next three phases. It'll be like, you know, we need the Scarlet Witch to do some crazy magic thing, and she doesn't know how to do it, and she's like, I know a guy, you know, one of those kinds of things, and then it's like, oh, you know, I think that's probably where we're headed there.
Yeah, because I think you're exactly right. We're going to completely forget about her. It's going to be like way down the line, much like who is it with the gold people that's just hanging out that we
Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock, where we have not unlocked him yet, but we saw him 6 movies ago, you know? So where's that payoff? I know it's coming, but where's
Guardians 3? That's where.
Guardians 3.
That's the only place that makes sense. But I was totally expecting him to appear in Endgame, and then nope.
That'll be nuts. I love it. And as Agatha is trapped, of course, Wanda, who was tricking Agatha into thinking that Agatha was absorbing her powers, it was all an illusion. She sucks back the power that was taken from her before the big battle. She traps Agatha, and then there's a heartbreaking goodbye as Wanda allows the Hex to close up.
So long, darling.
And we know that because Hex, Vision, and Billy and Tommy are part of the Hex. We know that they are sustained somehow, somewhere in this reality that Wanda, this Nexus-like being, has created. And that is where we ended the episode after lots of tears of saying goodbye.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. It was a different direction than I was expecting them to go with the episode, but it felt appropriate given what the show built.
Yes. So we already talked about the Theseus, the ship of Theseus. So right now I want to dive into the butter.
Yeah.
And I want to kick it off with Vision, because what a fantastic and interesting character that he has become from, Vision has long been in the comics this beloved character, and in the initial MCU films, his entire run, actually, he was extremely robotic. So it kind of turned you away from him from having any kind of interest. And I think WandaVision really turned it around, and seeing him live on in this version of White Vision, what do you think is going to evolve out of that? Or what do we know from the comics that we know could come next?
I think we talked about it last episode in terms of where the comics go. There is a situation in which White Vision, who is like this, total android, totally computerized version of Vision, loses all of his memories. He eventually reclaims them, and I don't fully remember if he and Wanda end up back together. I kind of don't think they do. They sort of go their separate ways after that whole experience because it's kind of traumatic for Wanda. But he's back, and I think that's one of my big questions coming out of this episode was really like, okay, so White Vision gets his memories unlocked by Hex Vision, which effectively makes him Vision, the only living Vision that there is, because everything that's happened, he has experienced everything that Vision, as we know him, has gone through, minus everything that's happened in the Hex. So there's a little bit of character dev lost there. But what's interesting to me is it's like he unlocks his memories, right? It goes, he sees it all download, and then he goes, I am the Vision, and blasts through the ceiling and is gone. And so what I find interesting about that is like that Vision that has just been reborn, the last thing that happened to him that he remembers is he's getting killed by Thanos. And Wanda tried to save his life and all of that. How is his first move not to go straight to Wanda? Where is he going? He busts out of the Hex, presumably, and he's gone.
Right.
That's an interesting move and a telling one, I think. I don't know what it tells us, but it's certainly not the behavior you would expect from the Vision that we know, at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah, here's a speculation on that. So he flies straight up. We don't see him again for the rest of the episode, correct?
Correct. He's gone.
What if his he still has his new directives from being rebuilt? What if his directive is to return to Sword Base up in the sky?
It could be
in space.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's possible he has to reconcile with these memories, right? I mean, they've been restored, but he has, there are some contradictions. For example, the Vision in all of, his memories is, like reddish, pinkish color, right. Purplish, whatever, and he's white. So
he's beets colored, yeah.
Yeah, he might be having like an identity crisis of sorts that he needs to work out in the same way that Wanda sort of is now that she is the Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. I like it a lot. Yeah, what if we have him revisit the site of Vision 1's demise, just to kind of put the pieces together, see if by physically being there would access some more memories. That could be a fun walk down memory lane for him for the future. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be exciting to see Paul Bettany continue this role as a version of Vision now that we have a little bit more access to emotion with him. So that'll be exciting.
It is exciting. I think it's funny. Things come full circle. I think whenever Endgame and Infinity War were going on, people were saying, people have to die, otherwise the stakes aren't high enough. When Vision died, I think the general consensus was like, who cares? Like,
true.
Yeah, if we're going to sacrifice somebody, that would be one to sacrifice. We don't really care that much about that character. I think the script is totally flipped on that now, and we care deeply about that character, and so I felt happy to know that there is some version of that continuing to live on.
Perfect. I love it. Let's kick off the crumbs, because a lot of this really ties more into speculation versus like heavy hitters. So I want to get through some one-offs, and then of course I want to talk about the things that let us down in this episode. Not to negate the greatness of this series, but things that we and the general fans, I think, really kind of deserve that we didn't see. And is there reconciliation with that? The first thing I want to know, are Dottie, Norm, and Herb, are they going to be future villains in the MCU?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good speculation. I think in the same vein of, let's say, Mysterio, the Mysterio of the MCU, where it's like him and all his cronies had been affected by prior things that had happened in the MCU. I think what sets them back is they don't have any necessarily extraordinary abilities or hyper intelligence or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole town in New Jersey that now hates the Scarlet Witch. So when she presumably comes back into the limelight as an Avenger, after taking a well-deserved sabbatical, I think there will be at least a whole town of New Jersey that hates her, and if not more. So that's interesting.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. I want to know why we think we didn't see Nick Fury in the mid-credit scene. Just to recap, the mid-credit scene was super short, and not that impactful. Because we kind of figured, right? So we see Monica get pulled away, and she says, "Hey, you're being called up. You got to go up to the ship." And they just look up. End mid-credit scene. So why didn't we see Nick Fury? What's going on there?
I think they're trying to bait and switch us a little bit there, because the conversation she has is with the Skrull, who's in disguise as a sword agent. And so I think they want us to think they're talking about Talos. But if we know based on the end of Far From Home that Talos was masquerading as Nick Fury, and Nick Fury is up in space hanging out with the Skrulls and enjoying a little R&R. But I think it's easily forgotten. And so I think whenever people say I'm an old friend of your mother's wants to talk, and it's a Skrull talking, people might go, "Oh, Talos, okay, gotcha." But it's actually Nick Fury. So I think they wanted to leave that a little bit open-ended, though. I think it's less open-ended than they actually might think.
Were you a little let down? I mean, when that happened, I knew they were referring, at least me, and I hope they are referring to Nick Fury. But couldn't we have gotten one little shot, even if it was just an audio phone telecommunication that said, "Monica, get up here," like in Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, just pure gold vocal tones. Like, were you bummed about that?
There's never too much Sam Jackson, so I'm always in favor of it. But I wasn't overly let down. I felt like I was like, okay, cool. This is her hero coronation, and this is the beginning of the photon journey, presumably. So this is a good next step. I was at least glad that they chose having an extra scene to address what would happen with Monica, who I think is, just a really endearing and lovable character following the events of the show. So I thought it was a good choice.
Definitely. Let's talk about Pietro next, before we talk about the final post-credit scene. I mean, we were strung along since episode 3, 4, where Pietro comes into play, and he knocks on the door.
5, I think.
All right. Well, he seems like he's been with us for a long time.
It is a long time. It's still 5 episodes or 4 episodes.
And he obviously cast in the Fox X-Men series. I mean, they just totally just like laid that to rest in this series, or so it looks like.
Yeah,
I was upset. Should have been the crossover stepping stone into X-Men.
I agree. I mean, I think everybody's a little upset about that. It's tough. I think. So let's just address it full on. Pietro, everything. What people are going to be upset about, what I was a little bit upset about personally, is there's no big reveal. There's no big bad. There's no multiverse tie-in. There's no, everything that happened in WandaVision was sort of face value and self-contained within the Hex. I think everybody thought, is there going to be Fantastic Four? I mean, we were certainly talking about things like that. There are a number of reasons why that was going on. When you've got Elizabeth Olsen saying there's going to be a Luke Skywalker-esque cameo. You've got Paul Bettany teasing a cameo that ultimately ended up being a huge troll, and it was himself that he was teasing. And then you've got, a series that just by the nature, the inherent nature of the series is just chock full of Easter eggs galore. So, I mean, you take all of that, you put that in a pot, you add the fact that it's released week to week and that it's the first MCU show ever, and the cryptic subject matter that this show, kind of dwelled in. Of course people are going to expect a big reveal. Of course they are. Do I think Marvel's wrong for, not going that route? No. I mean, but they have to understand why the fans would feel a certain way. I mean, certainly they do. Certainly they understand why the fans would feel that way. So, am I disappointed? Yeah. Do I feel like I was owed it as a fan? No. I mean, you have to remember this is the beginning of Phase 4. They're not going to, if you think about it with that in mind, you go, okay, I can see why they wouldn't go too crazy too fast here because it's going to get crazier later. So they don't want to just give you too much and then they can't go any higher from there. Right. But it is still disappointing. As a fan, you're always going to be disappointed when there's not some big crazy thing. And I think when the X-Men are teased, pretty apparently with the Fietro thing, you want it. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I still think they're double trolling us. I think they did this to really highlight just staying focused on Wanda and her journey. But I also feel like Marvel doesn't put something out there that they can't back up. Yeah. So I think that we will access Fietro again. And, he wasn't killed in this episode. They could revisit him, even if briefly. I know he's on American Horror Story or whatever on FX with Ryan Murphy, but I feel like we could still see him bridge the gap for us for the X-Men.
I mean, is it possible?
Not as the gateway, but as part of it.
Sure. I mean, is it possible that the other Peter Maximoff from a different dimension is still out there and alive and will make an appearance? Certainly. Maybe that person just happens to be born to different parents and named Ralph Boner in this reality. I mean, that's it could, like you're saying, be a small little treat for the fans and a full meal later on. I think that's definitely possible, but I think people wanted that reveal now. You and I wanted that reveal now, and we didn't get it. So that, I think, that's the one place that hurts as a fan closely. Like we all wanted that payoff. We felt like we were going to get it. And, to have it be Ralph, the Ralph that's been mentioned since episode 1 is a bit of a kick to the stomach, but it is what it is.
We will find out. I like that full meal. We're expecting a full meal later, Marvel. So keep that in mind. And our final one, of course, is we did get really a call out to the multiverse in the final post-credit scene. It's there. It's on the table. There's no question about it. But just the depths of it, that's what we don't have clarity on, is that we see Wanda, this beautiful, it's very similar to how they originally did the post-credit scenes, where it seems like this is a scene in another movie that we'll maybe see part of. Like I like to think of it as the first time you saw Captain America punching in the gym, and then we actually saw it later. This scene feels like that more than any other post-credit scene. So it's kind of like a throwback to their original form, but also still keeping it fresh with the next direction. And of course, we see Wanda. She's sipping on some tea or some coffee, and she puts the kettle on, and then we keep going to the back bedroom where Scarlet Witch is in the astral plane, and she is like reading the Darkhold book and just doing some crazy magic, and we hear Billy and Tommy screaming, "Mommy!" How do you feel? Is this a good enough introduction to the multiverse, or what broke an expectation that really rubbed you the wrong way?
No, I think I'm satisfied with it. You figure the show has to end with her saying goodbye to Billy and Tommy in some capacity. It's the only way the Hex comes to resolution. So I knew there was going to be a painful scene. I was expecting it. It didn't make it any less painful. I thought the scenes where she's saying goodbye to the family were brilliant and well done, and really some of the deepest, most intimate character development that we've gotten with any character in the MCU, with the exception of the Black Widow Hawkeye thing. I think that was really touching, and maybe like Star-Lord's whole character journey. And there are moments, but this was a big one, and it felt really good. But I think it's also good that they didn't end the show without telling us, like, hey, Billy and Tommy are intact somewhere, either in another reality or in some sort of, maybe in the hex, just submersed somewhere beyond what we can see with our human eyes. That's possible, like some sort of cloaked reality within our reality. I don't know. They could go any direction with it, but it's good to feel fairly confident that Wanda is going to find a way back to her children, and they are going to be a part of the future story, because I think that they will be important, and I'm excited about that. I'm very excited. That actually makes me feel better about things.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if we will see the kids age up one more time to whoever the actors will be for the Young Avengers. That's my speculation.
Yeah, I think they'll be older the next time we see. I don't know for sure. Maybe we get one more movie of them being young, but by the time they're like starring or co-starring in a movie, I don't think it's going to be the Billy and Tommy that we know today.
Or maybe the kids that portrayed them in this series. Kids like grow fast around that age.
They can Harry Potter their way up to the right age.
So then maybe by the time they're filming the next one, they're like 3 feet taller, and they're like, oh, they're 12, instead of 15. And maybe they're good enough. They do some additional screen tests, and we can see them, those actors in particular, in there. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty exciting.
That would be. I thought they were good. I really did. I thought that they were good, and it was well cast, and they added something to the show. So I wouldn't be disappointed in that at all.
Definitely. So the next step from here, what's next in the timeline past Falcon and Winter Soldier? I gotta pull up my timeline here.
So we've got a couple of things that are confirmed. We've got Spider-Man, we've got Eternals, we've got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Those will all come out between now and the end of the year, actually, as well as Black Widow, which I don't expect to really touch on what we saw in WandaVision too much, because it was always expected to come out well before WandaVision. In fact, keep in mind, we talked about last episode, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier were all supposed to come out before WandaVision. And there was a pandemic in there as well, so we can't forget that. I think that it's possible the pandemic affected some of the plot lines in this show. I think the show director Matt Shakman sort of alluded to as much, that they wanted to do a little bit more, but probably couldn't because they were limited in what they could produce. But I don't think we see Wanda again until Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So it's possible that all of this stuff that happened we don't see again until 2022, when we're talking about Captain Marvel 2, which is the next time I expect to see Monica Rambeau. Unless she appears in Miss Marvel, which is certainly possible, which is coming out later this year. Forgot about that. And I don't think we see Wanda again until Doctor Strange 2. So I think that this stuff's going to be sitting for a bit.
Wow. I don't know how to table my emotions, but I guess I'll have to. I guess we'll have to.
I know. Guys, we'll have to. Well, it'll be good. We'll get a excuse for a rewatch around this time next year.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll also, there were all these articles coming out, when Infinity War came and when Endgame came, and they're like, hey, listen, watch all of them, but if you don't have time, watch XYZ movie before you get here. And I wonder if they're going to be like, hey, rewatch WandaVision, rewatch Falcon and Winter Soldier, rewatch blah, 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 all that. That'd be pretty cool. I think those articles are helpful, and they're usually right on the nose too about what's going to like prep you as like a previously on the MCU.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I think is really cool is just knowing that Wanda is going to be a huge part of what they do in the next, at least this current phase and maybe beyond, because let's not forget, they just now are calling her the Scarlet Witch. She just donned that moniker. She just got her super cool new costume, and she's just now learning about her true powers. So they even said, they made a point of saying the Scarlet Witch is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, who is Doctor Strange. So they are setting the table for her to be a heavy hitter in the MCU for years and years to come. And I think every fan at this point is excited about that after what an incredible job Elizabeth Olsen did and everything we learned about this character in the show.
Our last speculation, which is probably not even a speculation at all, we pretty much know that Elizabeth Olsen will be nominated for an Emmy for this award in 2022.
I would be shocked if she wasn't. I mean, yeah, I would be I would be shocked if she wasn't. There better be some great shows that come out between now and then. But she really, you can't say enough about how good of a job she and Paul Bettany did in this show. I thought Teyana Parris was awesome in this show. I thought Catherine Hahn was awesome in this show. This is, for the MCU's first crack at a television series, this is really high quality TV. And, at the same time, it still feels accessible. It doesn't feel snobby and such. It feels like really accessible TV for the masses, but also still good content, which is, I don't know what more you could ask for.
That's right. It doesn't feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They have redeemed themselves. Not that was a terrible show.
Yeah.
I didn't watch
but
all
it was
of
network TV, and it felt like
network. Yeah. And so this is really their chance, given the new opportunities with streaming, to really just do what they need to do. So all wonderful things are coming together, and we cannot wait to see what happens next, especially if John Stamos will sneak his way into the MCU.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? I mean, at this point, you're at the point where you're like, okay, who has not been either linked, rumored, or cast in the MCU? That list is getting pretty small these days, and it's to the point now where, like, at first you were seeing these big actors sort of like sneer at MCU roles and turn them down and things like that. And now it's not below anybody. I mean, they all want in. No, I think everybody would be clamoring for a role in the MCU at this point.
And they should. I mean, we've got like at least 30 of the 200 actors that we've seen, plus like of the main storylines that they have been either Academy Award winners or nominees. Like, that's easy to say.
Yeah, and Eternals is going to be directed by, I believe, what we will be calling her Academy Award winner, Chloe Zhao, by the time Eternals comes out, which will be a first for the MCU. So that's exciting. There's a lot of exciting things coming, and we're going to be on top of all of it.
So stay tuned. Have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend, and we will see you back next week for Spilled Popcorn on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I cannot wait.
We'll sleep when we're dead. We'll sleep when we're dead.
Thank you, Rhetoric, so much. Check out our website, check out our Facebook, check out our Twitter, check out our Instagram. Talk to you later.
Peace.